Good afternoon and welcome to this week's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing. I'm Davia Chambers. Of course, this is where we keep you updated with some of the important decisions taken at the weekly Executive Council meeting of the Tobago House of Assembly. Now addressing the media this week is the Secretary of the Division of Education, Innovation and Energy, as well as the Division of Community Development, Enterprise Development and Labor, Assemblyman Marslyn Melville-Jack. I now invite Mrs. Jack to make her presentation.
Good afternoon, members of the media, and to you, the members of the listening public. This afternoon, I will be updating you on matters pertaining to education in Tobago. On Thursday, July 1st, 2021, 1,057 students wrote the SEA examination, 517 boys and 543 girls. This represented an increase of 62 more students in comparison to 2020. Our 2021 SEA top performers hailed from 6 primary schools on the island. Mrs. Jolie St. John of St. Andrew's Anglican was the island's top performer, placing 1st overall in Tobago and 39th nationally. The other 9 top performers are as follows. 2nd, Rhea Charles, St. Andrew's Anglican Primary. 3rd, Zihani Hazel, Blackrock Government Primary. 4th, Adiva Obifun, Scarborough Methodist Primary. 5th, Kaimali Saunders, Scarborough Methodist Primary. 6th, Eden Jones, Scarborough RC. 7th, Rael Neptune, Scarborough RC. 8th, Zirai Celestine, Belgarden Anglican. 9th, Jeanne Clark, Bethesda Government Primary. And 10th, Olatunji Tate, Belgarden Anglican. Let me just correct something that I said a little earlier. Our first place winner, or the first overall in Tobago, Miss Jolie St. John, came from Scarborough Methodist Primary. The performance of Tobago students at the SEA exam was encouraging and comparable with previous results. We must take into consideration that this cohort of students were the first to spend their entire school year online. Despite moving from face-to-face learning to a hybrid model of synchronous and asynchronous classes, our students were still able to attain top placements nationally. This year, 9 of our top performing students attained scores above 245.5 that was earned by the first place student in 2020. In 2021, the first place student scored 255.8, while the 9th place scored 246.5. This represents an increase in the number of students performing at the highest level. Our primary schools have shown significant improvements in their overall performance at the 2021 SEA examinations. The following schools performed above the national mean. These schools were, in no particular order, Belgarden Anglican, St. Nicholas Private, North Regional SDA, Bethesda Government, Lambo Anglican, Blackrock Government, Golden Lane Government, Scarborough Roman Catholic, Buku Government, and Goodwood Methodist. Let me take this opportunity to heartily congratulate the teachers, parents, and students who have contributed to this outstanding achievement. While we celebrate our top performers, the vast numbers of students who are underperforming is of grave concern. And we at the division have decided that this requires immediate intervention. Following the 2021 assessment, 84 students will need to retake the examination in 2022. The performance of students in English language arts and creative writing saw an increase by 2.9 and 0.1 points respectively, compared to the mean achieved in 2020. However, the mean scores for Tobago in mathematics decreased by 7.2 points in 2021. Decreased performances by some students could be attributed to the novelty of online learning, as face-to-face teaching is the preferred mode of learning for students at all levels. The school's supervision and curriculum units will provide the additional support that is required where students have performed below the acceptable standard. Remediation would be conducted at each school to ensure improved performances in 2022. I now move on to requests for transfers. These requests are currently being processed and will be released to parents by Monday, 25th October 2021. However, students are requested that they must continue to engage online with the school to which they were assigned until the transfer information is released. Please note that not all transfer requests may be successful. To support the division's strategic focus on curriculum delivery, quality education, planning, monitoring, and assistance to teachers, 8 new curriculum officers have been added to our staff. And this addition took place from the 1st of September 2021. These new officers will provide assistance to the Curriculum Planning and Development Unit in the areas of information technology, technology education, science, tech-voc education, physical education, visual and performing arts, and reading. The filling of these 8 positions offers our teachers additional support and guidance in the implementation of curriculum standards. The Division of Education, Innovation and Energy, in collaboration with the Division of Health, Wellness and Family Development, began the administration of the Pfizer vaccine to students and adolescents aged 12 to 18 years. And this began on Wednesday, 18th August at Bishop's High School. Second doses of the vaccine were administered from September 9th, 2021. And to date, a total of 1,917 students have received their first dose of vaccination, and 1,149 received their second doses, out of an approximated 6,000 school-age population. This uptake is way below our desired requirement if we are to approach herd immunity. The vaccination drive for students continues daily at health centers within communities and at the Scarborough Port Mall on Fridays. The health and safety of our students remain the #1 priority of the division. Vaccinations offer an additional layer of protection for students as we prepare them for their return to physical school. Over the past 18 months, our students have experienced a dramatic shift in the approach to teaching and learning. Many students have never had the opportunity to visit their schools or even to wear their school uniforms in public. Operating in a fully online environment means that camaraderie among students and the opportunity to build collaborative social networks is lost. So, parents and guardians, I am sure that we can all agree that we need to get all our children back to physical school as safely as possible. This is yet another appeal to all our listeners to ensure that you and your children get fully vaccinated as soon as possible. Vaccination is the only way our students can have the best chance of fully returning to face-to-face learning. I now turn to the physical reopening of schools. Consultations with the Minister of Education on the guidelines for the physical reopening of schools were conducted with all critical stakeholders, including representatives from Tutor, principals of private and public primary and secondary schools, denominational school boards, and the national PTA on 4 occasions. The latest was Thursday, the 23rd of September, 2021. Following these consultations, it was concluded that schools will physically reopen on Monday, 4th October, for fully vaccinated students from Forms 4 to 6 to facilitate both teaching and practical sessions. And let me reiterate that fully vaccination means you have had your 2 jabs and 2 weeks have elapsed after your 2nd jab. Unvaccinated students will continue receiving instructions online. Operational guidelines were also made available to secondary school principals, and they are expected to select from possible options according to their individual school's context. I must at this time extend my appreciation to all the principals and teachers who have responded to this request by creatively formulating timetables and management schedules to facilitate face-to-face and online interaction for all our students. They have risen to the challenge and will celebrate each achievement one day at a time. It is expected that all teachers of Forms 4 to 6 will report to school physically from Monday, October 4th. At the division, we are in the process of ensuring that the Wi-Fi infrastructure is improved and that connectivity issues are minimized in an attempt to enable teachers and students uninterrupted service. Upgrades to network infrastructure and the installation of more access points will provide campus-wide coverage. With the continuation of online learning and teaching, there was also the need to provide principals, teachers, and school administrators with additional opportunities to improve their skills. Through this division, training was procured and facilitated by the Information Technology Professional Development Network Global. And they did this under the theme, Enhancing 21st Century Skills for Educators. This training focused on communication, collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, and hybrid learning modules. 345 teachers participated in this exercise, which concluded on September 3rd. I'll now speak a little bit about devices. And it is critical for teachers and parents to understand that students in need of devices are advised to make the request through their parents to the principal of the school which the child attends. Let me say that again. If children are in need of devices, their parents are advised to make those requests through the principal of the school which the child attends. The principal will then advise the division of the need for additional devices, and those will be given to the principal. Our student support unit of psychologists, guidance officers, social workers, and counselors remain committed to work with students, teachers, and parents who require assistance with handling learning teaching challenges, grief, stress, or any other emotional issue. In preparation for this new academic term, the Student Support Unit distributed to more than 550 families, that is more than 1,000 students, books, and in a few cases, school uniforms. However, it is instructive to note that the Student Support Unit has already received 10 referrals for academic concern. And these concerns range from absenteeism, not logging on, not being reached, psychological, emotional, or students experiencing some different kinds of trauma. So the Student Support Unit would make possible interventions to these 10 affected students. And these interventions will include home visits, consultation with the parents, counseling, working with the parents to have more structure and supervision in the home, partnering with community groups, or in some cases, reporting to the Children Authority if no intervention is working. They also will be involved in networking with different agencies to provide additional support in areas where some parents are unable to cope. In conclusion, stakeholders in education, as schools across the globe and in Trinidad and Tobago gradually reopen, the practices to conform to the new normal are varied, based on the dynamics which exist in individual countries and the advice given by each country's health professionals. Our approach, which is Trinidad and Tobago's approach, remains one that is student-centered and seeks to ensure that learners continue to have safe and equitable access to quality education. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you, Assemblyman Marslyn Melville-Jack. Now, members of the media, you're now allowed to ask questions. Remember, once you have a question to pose to Mrs. Jack, just indicate by raising your virtual hand. Elizabeth Williams, TV6 News. Good afternoon, Elizabeth.
Hi, good afternoon, Davia and Madam Secretary.
Good afternoon, Liz.
Good day. Okay, so what is happening is that we have received several reports from Tutor with respect to outstanding issues at schools. What Tutor is stating is that in light of school reopening on Monday, a number of labs still need to be in terms of readiness of these labs. Some of them are still in need of being ready. We were told some schools, in terms of Signal Hill, I know I would have visited Signal Hill and I know there were some repairs ongoing there. Besides that, Tutor is also stating that scanners, if the scanners are operating properly at these schools, and also, well, I know you mentioned it, Madam Secretary, about the low number of students that have been vaccinated. I don't know if you will be, what do you want to say to parents to encourage them? Because those numbers that you would have indicated today is very low.
Okay, let me see if I can start with your first question. Up to this time, I can assure principals at all the schools that may be experiencing issues with their labs. And those issues are minor. And I'm saying that because at this point in time, I'm advised of 3 schools that are awaiting eyewash and enclosures for these eyewash. And I need to say that these are already here and they will be installed in time for the reopening on Monday. The lab at Signal Hill, we know the work has resumed, and by the time they are ready to do physical work, now remember, this reopening is not just for practical sessions, it is also for instruction, theoretical instruction. So by the time they are ready for the practicals, we can assure them that those labs will be completed. As far as the vaccination is concerned, did I miss something before vaccination?
She asked for an update on the scanners at various schools around the island.
Okay, great. The last time we visited schools, there was only one primary school where the scanner was not working. At this time, we are only reopening the secondary schools, and I can assure you that the scanners at all the secondary schools are working. There needs to be a few more scanners at Speyside, and we are in the process of procuring those for Speyside. But all the other secondary schools have working scanners. As far as the vaccination drive is concerned, all that we can do is appeal to the population. There is nothing to be afraid of when it comes to taking the vaccine. We have been accustomed to taking vaccines all our lives. As a matter of fact, there has never been a question about what is inside a vaccine. I am vaccinated, I'm fully vaccinated and feeling fine, and most of the students that have been vaccinated are feeling fine. We care enough about our students that we do not want them coming out unless they have that added layer of protection, because they will be dealing not only with the teachers. When you leave home, you may enter a maxi taxi, you may enter a taxi, you may go into stores or walk along the streets with people who are unvaccinated. Hence the reason we require that those students coming out, to ensure that we keep them safe, that they be fully vaccinated. So I can only appeal to the parents. Please ensure that you do this as quickly as possible, because I know that your children are longing to be in a classroom once again with their friends.
Caricia Douglas, TTT News. Good afternoon, Caricia.
Good afternoon, Davi. Good afternoon, Mrs. Jack.
Good afternoon.
Mrs. Jack, just for information purposes, I don't know if I missed it and you maybe shared it. How is the teaching going to be rolled out? October 4th, we have some with the vaccinated students at school. We have unvaccinated at home. How is it going to happen? Is it that you all have added technological infrastructure to allow for both the students at home and those at school to be able to receive the same teaching while the teacher is at school? How it's going to happen, please?
Well, as I said earlier, different options are available to principals and teachers based upon their unique school's context. So there may be, I'll give you a very vivid example. Let's say, for example, that mathematics is to be taught to fourth formers. You may have 3 or 4 mathematics teachers. 2 of those teachers may be assigned to teach online, when the other 2 would be teaching face-to-face. So there would be cause for some kind of grouping. So it depends on what is available to you at this point in time. And I can tell you that principals have been very creative with their timetabling. And I can assure you that the unvaccinated as well as the vaccinated students have nothing to worry about. They will all be given the same kind of quality education.
Elizabeth Williams, TV6 News. Hello again, Elizabeth.
Hi, good afternoon again. Caricia would have taken the question that I was going to ask, because I was wondering about how this blended, how will this be blended in terms of learning in class and also online. and if children would be left behind. But another question that I have is with respect to in terms of how much monies have been used in terms of the school repair program for Tobago schools, and also another issue with respect to Tutor. Tutor is stating that there has been some outstanding appointments for teachers that needs to be addressed in terms of specifically to Tobago. They're calling on the division and also the Teaching Service Commission to speed up the process. For years, some teachers have been waiting on appointments.
Thank you for both questions. And if I remember the first question, could you remind me?
She wanted to find out how much funds have been used for the school repair program.
All right, so I can tell you that the school repair program for this year has not yet begun, but the Executive Council has approved to date approximately $13 million for those repairs. And the next question dealt with?
She wanted a comment on the issue regarding outstanding appointments for teachers as stated by Tutor. They wanted the process to be sped up.
Okay, excellent. Now, we all know, those in the educational fraternity, that appointments are done by the Teaching Service Commission. We do admit that there has been a backlog for quite some time, and it is the Teaching Service Commission intent to ensure that this backlog is cleared as quickly as possible. Hence the reason that just about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, they put out something in the media which said that teachers should no longer apply for positions unless those positions are advertised. Because in many instances, you may have 10 or more teachers with degrees in, let's say, business, waiting for an appointment to teach business, but there are no vacancies. So as a result, persons with that particular discipline may find themselves waiting for an even longer time. So I must say at this point that the Teaching Service Commission is committed to ensuring that the backlog is cleared up as quickly as possible. So in order to do that, they have stopped the applications for a while. And I can assure teachers who have been waiting for a long while that in the very near future, many of those appointments would come back to the division.
Do we have any more questions from members of the media? I'm not seeing any more raised hands, so on that note, that brings us to the end of this week's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing. Thank you so much, Assemblyman Marslyn Melville-Jack, for your presentation. Thank you, members of the media, for your questions, and thank you, our viewing audience, for always tuning in. I'm Davia Chambers saying do enjoy the remainder of your afternoon, and please remember to stay safe.